Hey, you guys, it is Lisa Nicole Alexander with a deeper look into domestic violence. I'm super excited to have my friend Raquel Gonzalez here today. Hey, Raquel.
Hi, how are
Hey,
you?
I'm so
Hi.
glad you're here. So, I met Raquel in 2018. She is a survivor of domestic violence, and she's here to share her story. I met her through Harbor House of Central Florida, which we both receive services from. And
Yeah.
she was the Purple Door Luncheon. Every year they have a luncheon where they invite the whole community and they come out and, donate and stuff like that. And they have a survivor speaker. And she was a survivor speaker for 2018. And I was just blown away by her story. And since then we've connected and we were there at the Purple Door Luncheon this year watching another survivor share her story. And so I asked Raquel to come on and share her story because it's one of great sadness, and one that she definitely wants to get out there to other survivors to know to try to prevent it from happening to them. So, Raquel, so glad that you said yes.
Thank you. I am glad too.
So we'll just
Yes.
start at the beginning. Tell
Okay.
me what happened. How did you get into this relationship? Domestic violence come into your life? What happened?
Well, I might look young, like you said,
You do. You do.
but this happened over 20 years ago.
Mhm.
I was 19 when about 20. I just turned 20 when I met my abuser. I was a single mom when I met him, and he seemed to be the one at that age. You're just looking, especially as a single mother, you're looking for the perfect partner,
Right.
someone who can provide, someone who can take care, not because I was dependent on anyone. I was just looking for having someone be the best partner and father figure to my daughter
Okay.
at that time.
Okay. How old was your
So
daughter at that time?
she was 8 months old.
Okay. Okay.
She was my best friend. Typically when I used to say I would never have kids young. I can't be a single mom.
Mm-hmm.
But once I got pregnant by Natalie, it like all changed. She
Mm-hmm.
was my little angel, and anyone who met her would say the same thing. Till this day, she's affected so many people because of her existing here in this world. So she was amazing. So he fell in love with her, and just by him falling in love with her made me fall in love with him.
Okay.
So it was all really pretend, because you knew that's how to get me to fall for him. So it was very charming. He really engaged with my family, allowed me, well, at the time I didn't know I was being allowed. It was more of me speaking freely, being myself, and he took all of that in. Every word I said, every movement I made, every decision I made, he just stood back and watched, and then later just used that all against me.
Wow. And how long did that take before he switched?
It started first, you see, a lot of people will be in denial at first. At first, you really do feel like they're very caring. Oh, I was worried about you. Well, back then we didn't have cell phones, so it was like, please call me when you get home. I just want to make sure you get home safe. So
Okay.
I was like, ooh, he worries about me. He's always
Right.
thinking about me.
Okay.
And little did I know it was because he wanted to know how long it would take me from point A to point B. And if it took me more than 5 minutes, why? Why would you do this to me? Why would you worry me so much? And how could you do this to me? And then you feel guilty thinking like, whoa, he cares so much about me. Why would I do such a thing?
Wow.
Why would I worry him? So it began that way. Oh, you wear too much makeup. You're too loud. You're too close to your family, And I thought I was like, he was about 8 years older than me.
Okay.
Maybe if not 10 years older than me. So I felt, no, 8 years. I felt like, okay, he's just teaching me how to become a woman.
Wow. Okay.
You know,
Okay. Fair. Yeah.
Yeah, so I started feeling like, okay, he's just making me mature, and he's gonna fall in love with this person that he wants me to be, and I can be that person. And I started
Mm,
slowly, without even realizing it, I started to change my ways, the way I spoke, the way I dressed, the way I looked. And then once he saw that he had control over that,
mhm.
he started throwing other things in, like, I'm not going, you're not going to do this.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Okay.
who are you to tell me? So when he realized that I was, at first I started to fight a little, but then one day is when I we were drinking, and I blamed it on us drinking, that my daughter was at my parents' house. We were like date night, and he got really angry and got up and started punching me in my head. And I
Mm,
was like, I was sitting on the couch and he was just going at it. And I'm thinking, is he playing with me? Like, at first,
mm.
the first time I ever got hit by him, it was more of like, whoa, whoa, what is going on?
Okay. Okay.
And when he stopped, I saw darkness in his eyes. I
Mm,
felt I felt so scared. The first time in my life I ever felt scared of a man or
okay.
anyone.
Okay.
I have my father till this day. He's the
Mm,
best man I've ever encountered in this world. I have the most
wow.
amazing dad. I
That's
have the most
awesome.
amazing uncles. I've never been
Wow.
hit, like been like scared of a man,
Right.
never in my life. It
Wow.
was always my mom. My mom would be
Yeah.
the one to spank me, like, and I would be like, ah, yeah, that hurt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
But not a
but
man, not dad. Wow.
my dad was the sweetest, and he still is. So when that happened, I was completely like confused, and I kept replaying something in my head, like, oh, if a guy ever touches me, I will I
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
beep and bleep bleep
Yeah.
bleep.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
talking about, the even my daughter's biological father would be like, I would not mess with you. So
Wow.
that one inside of me going like, where is she? Come out,
Right. Right. Right.
defend
Right.
yourself. What did you say you were gonna do? And I sit there completely paralyzed and in fear. And I felt like I was trapped and I couldn't leave. So the moment I felt that way, I got really scared and cried and begged for me to leave. I wouldn't tell anybody, please. And then he became remorseful.
Mm. Okay, so let me
Uh,
just go back. So this
mhm.
first incident when he's hitting you in the head, that's you guys have been drinking that night. So you're thinking, okay, so it's bad, but it's the
Yeah,
alcohol. Okay,
it's
got
the
it.
alcohol. I shouldn't have said what I said.
Okay.
I kind of like ticked him off a little bit. Now he's remorseful. He's sorry, but I still want to leave. So
Okay.
then he starts crying. I'm so sorry. Why would you make me do this to you? You shouldn't have said something like that. That would trigger something out of me that makes me
Wow.
mad.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm so sorry, and I promise I just want to go home, let me just go home. And when I got in my car, I bust crying, just tears
Mm.
falling. And it wasn't about pain. It wasn't anger. It wasn't sadness. It was more shame. I felt like I was violated.
Okay.
Um, and I went home and I didn't say a word
Mm.
because
Did you
I
live with
wasn't,
family at that time?
yeah, I lived with my parents.
Okay.
So and they helped me take care of my daughter Natalie. My older sister, also lived there. She was a single mom as well. My parents always wanted us to be close to them, and they preferred us to. They really helped us out tremendously until we got ourselves on our feet.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's how it all began. Then I didn't want to see him anymore, but then I found out I was pregnant.
Okay. So I have a question.
Hmm.
How long after you started dating him was the first time that incident happened?
I wouldn't even say a month.
Oh, okay.
We met October of 97 for
Okay.
Halloween.
Okay.
I would say before December. No, I would say around like right after New Year's. So it
Okay.
took about 2 to 3 months and for
Okay.
the first hit.
Okay.
But I think soon after that first hit, and he saw that he got away with it.
Yeah.
And that I came back. So I found out in January that late January that I was pregnant.
Okay. I'm sorry to interrupt you again, but I just want to point out something. You met in October, right after New Year. So we're talking about a 3-month period. Between that 3-month period, he broke this. Where are you from?
New York.
You're from New York, yeah. And you're Hispanic too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So from Puerto Rico, where are you from? Am I guessing?
Dominican.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, but
yes. And I'm like, you don't play with that. You don't play. But
I don't
within
play.
that,
Oh,
yeah. But within that
I'm
3-month
Dominican.
period. Go ahead, you go.
And not only that, my uncles, I have like uncles and cousins, all male, military. Like if I was to even say, hey, he looked at me some type of way,
right.
It would be over.
Right. So you have a strong personality, strong family, Dominican background. You're like, New York, we're all together, forget it. But within a 3-month period of time, and I just really want to say this because I want people to recognize how short a time frame it is that they're able to get into your head. And okay, and then you start changing what you're saying, where you're going, how you're dressing. Within that time frame, 3 months until he actually physically put his hands on you, but during that time, the psychological abuse was happening.
It was. And let me tell you something, whoever downplays how smart they are, they're very smart. They know how to manipulate anyone, and don't underestimate their intelligence, you know. And I am a very smart woman. Even back then, I had a good grade point average. I was practically like the good sister, the good daughter. She's going to become a doctor. She's so intellectual. She can sit down and she has no fear. And that person started slowly dwindling down into like his own creation. He created this person that I was completely not like. But that doesn't mean that she wasn't inside of me.
Right.
She was screaming. And it was like whatever he created and manipulated became stronger to the point that the real me was just, locked up in a room inside my head.
Right. I love your analogy about that. I love that because I don't think that's a visual example of what is actually happening, and I wrote this down. You said that he made his own creation he molded you how he wanted you to be.
Yes.
Yeah. And you didn't disappear. You were still in there, but you were just so locked away and put away that.
Yeah.
Wow. That was good. It was a good analogy. Okay,
and it's something that I love to describe the facts because I don't get frustrated when people don't understand. And I used to be one of those people that would be like, well, they must like getting hit. Why can't they just leave? Why can't they just get help? Like, why don't they? They must not love themselves. They must love them more than they love themselves. No, it's not that. Is I am prime example that I've never been abused prior to him. I was very strong-willed. I was very confident in myself. However, I guess I was overly confident in believing that I would not be manipulated.
Wow, that's good.
But I was. And so many of us are, whether you're rich, poor, smart, got a degree, don't have a degree, men, women, children, we're all susceptible for just getting fooled by someone so manipulative. They find your weaknesses.
They do. Let me ask you, did you know anything about abuse at this time? At 20 years old, did you know?
I used to see movies like men hitting women and beating on their wives or mothers or whatever, but I never really experienced that firsthand.
Would you have known any of the warning signs if you saw them?
Oh, definitely not.
Okay.
Oh no. I thought men that hit women or were abusive didn't have a different side of them. I thought they were
Okay.
just
Wow, that's good.
one-sided. I thought they were just, you know, mean, aggressive, and they hit you from the first day. No,
Right.
it's a process that they go through, and I um it's crazy because you fall in love with that other side,
Yeah.
not the crazy side. You know, you think you can keep that crazy side at bay, but you
Mhm.
can't. And then you make yourself, not only that they mold you to be something else, but even at the same time you're trying to fix, and not
Mm.
fix, push
Mm.
away that other side,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the good side is there,
It's good,
and
and
it's
it's good.
and it's
It's good.
amazing,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
and it's very truthful. Like, they really
Mhm.
at that particular moment really believe and do relate to you, that they really care, but then
Mhm.
this like shadow takes
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something, it's not even worth staying for that little bit of that other side,
What she
because
said, that's it. That's it.
I tried and tried to look,
Mm.
and just stayed because of that good side, and at the same time I felt like I deserved to get hit. I
Mm.
deserved to get punched. I should have known better not to leave that
Wow.
the piece of paper on the floor, or the
Right.
shoe in the middle of the living room. Should have
Right.
known that. How stupid am I?
Right.
But it's
Wow.
not worth it. It's not worth
Mm.
living in fear like that. I wouldn't be right here at this time. What time is it?
It's like 9:20, something like that.
I I can never imagine being here talking about it so freely without any
Mhm.
fear.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I am. And it did cost me so much. And I think the reason why I do it is not to share my story and for people to think, oh wow. It's more like, oh, I feel that's where I'm heading, or
Right.
maybe not, but
Right.
let me see how much more I can get from this,
Mm.
that will help me leave before it
That's good.
happens,
Yeah.
because it will happen.
Yeah. 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 You're right. So you told us that you had gotten pregnant. You wanted to leave him after that, and you got pregnant.
um
You found out you were
I
pregnant.
I'm sorry.
You found out you were pregnant.
I found out I was pregnant, and this happened right when I was going to break up with him, because he
Mhm.
had put his hands on me again.
Okay.
And I found out I was pregnant, and I reached out to him, and I don't care. You have that baby. I have nothing to do with it.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my God. I was brought up not believing in abortions.
Mhm.
Here I am, 20, under the age of 21, with two kids one here without a father in her life, permanent, like day by day.
Mhm.
And then I'm still living at home with my parents. My parents are still together, and they're very supportive, but here I go messing up again. Got pregnant, um, by another man, and now this man is abusive towards me.
Mhm.
And what am I going to do? I don't believe in abortion. So I prayed. It's like so ironic. Like, why would I pray to miscarry?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't stay with him, but I practically kind of begged him to not leave me,
Mhm.
because I'd rather have him in my life,
Yeah.
and in his daughter's life, than my own safety. I don't
Mm.
know.
Wow. Yeah. Makes sense. And it makes sense to somebody listening too. So go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, it could be uncomfortable for some people that don't understand, but I really wanted to make it work, even if
Yeah.
it tormented my life,
Understand.
because I guess I cared more for what other people could think, like, oh, there she goes again, pregnant again. But and I made this lifestyle, like, on the outside I looked like I was the happiest. I found the love of
Mm.
my life.
Okay.
He's so
Wow.
amazing. We might get married. He's so happy.
Wow.
I was And to be honest, I was being sexually abused. I was verbally abused. I was physically abused emotionally. And it didn't matter as long as I portrayed to be perfect and have this perfect little world. And that one day I would change him. Well, then it all got worse with the abuse when I moved in with him.
Okay.
I was about 4 months pregnant.
Okay.
He did stop hitting me, but the words didn't stop. Okay. You're ugly, you're skinny, you're disgusting. See, no one's ever going to be with you. 2 different kids by 2 different dads.
Okay.
Oh, look, aren't you ashamed of yourself? What is your family going to think of you? Look at me, now I have to take care of you. And at the time, I always worked. Okay. I never depended on anyone. I had a job since I was 16, 17, I've always worked and been very independent, took care of my bills, but he felt the need to control that as well.
Okay.
We moved in with him, and he did seem to only, like take out his anger or abuse on me.
Okay.
But then as time went by, the Raquel that was inside of me started questioning certain things, because we used to take turns on the care for my daughter Natalie. Okay. No, she was about a year. She turned a year, and then we were living with him. So he would work kind of early mornings. And come home like around 11. So he worked kind of overnight a little bit, 3 o'clock till like 7, 8 in the morning. Okay. And then I would go to work, and then he'll stay home with the kids. Okay. With Natalie at the time. So when I would come home from work, when he would be gone in the mornings, I would get her up, bathe her and stuff. And we had a really good time. Sometimes I would notice bruises on her, like on her legs. And I would ask him, Natalie, I was giving her a bath and she has some little bruises, and, she was too young to talk. Right. So she used to go, ouchie, ouchie. Okay. Just ouchie. And I was like, ouchie. And then so I would ask him, like, she has these bruises on the back of her legs. What, she doesn't hurt herself when she's around me. What could it be? And he's like, oh, these toys that you leave all over the house, and she trips and she falls. And then the one he created was like, oh yeah, the toys. Okay. Oh yeah, there's no way that he's hitting her like he's hitting me. There's just no way, because she loves him. She didn't cry around him. She loved her dad, because he took care of her. But 20 years later is when I actually have come to the conclusion that I was so blinded from the truth that he was also hitting her. Okay. And she became a victim as well, because she would act just like I would act, like, and she was so young to, like, now thinking back on it, I feel like she was trying too, because she saw the good. So she would try also not to get him mad. So maybe that's why she was loving towards him. Okay. Because she maybe saw me do the same thing. Yeah, it's hard even after so many years to really confess that. Yeah, it's hard. And the only reason why I do it is because I know so many women are going through this. Yeah. I would never let anything happen to my daughter. I wouldn't. Yeah. And I would say I would rather die. But the me then, I really, really thought that I was taking all of it.
Right, right. You thought you were the only one getting any of his anger,
I
his
thought that
violence.
I was
Right.
the only one.
Of course.
And if he's upset, let him take it out on me.
Mhm.
I always asked him though, when he was on the other side, the nice, just please, anytime you get upset, just please don't be upset around the kids.
Right.
Just leave, have them go to another room, or, get mad at me. I never said beat me. Get mad at me separate from where they are.
Right. Mm.
But by this time, I was 6 months pregnant. At that time, he started refusing to let me see my family.
Okay.
As you know, I'm Dominican, so
Mhm.
I have hundreds and thousands of family members.
Yeah, and it's a celebration
And
for everything. A birthday party, a baby shower, it's a party. Yeah.
yeah, so my family, especially my immediate family, we would see each other even till this day every weekend and talk every day.
Okay.
So my mom lived about 7 minutes away from me.
Okay.
I hadn't seen let me see. I would say, hey, I'm busy. I'm working. The kids, I can't this weekend. I'm doing
Okay.
laundry, or we're going to his mother's house in Palm Coast, or we're doing this. So every time we had an excuse of why. And my sister, my older sister, she didn't want to have it.
Okay.
She's
She
like, I
wasn't
don't
buying it.
care.
Yeah.
I'm going to come. Yeah, she wasn't buying it. She's like, I don't care. I want to see my niece. I'm going to take my niece,
Right.
and you ain't going to say anything about it, because I'm going to take her to the park, and that's it.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh my God, she is going to get me in so much trouble. And that's how I thought. Like, I couldn't breathe if it wasn't without his permission.
Yeah.
My worst beating happened when I was 7 months pregnant. Oh, I still remember what I was wearing. I was wearing a pajama, not pajama, like a nightgown.
Uh-huh.
It was like the most comfortable thing I could wear, because I was 7 months pregnant. He came home late and woke me up, and I thought, okay, when he woke up, he always tapped me like, okay, get ready.
Okay.
And so I'm like, crap. Okay, I do the dishes. I did the dishes. And I put the things. So I'm going through my head every part of the house, or everything that could get me in trouble. And then I said, oh crap, I left the laundry in the washer instead of putting it in the dryer.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I forgot the clothes in the washer. I got to put it in the dryer. And then he's like, okay. And he follows me to the laundry room, and he's like, so tell me how you've met up with Natalie's father. I'm like, no, I had not talked to this man since before I met him. So Natalie's biological father, I was like, no, not even even if I were to communicate with him, it wouldn't be a problem, because that's my daughter's biological father.
Right,
so why should I even be scared to tell him, yeah, I talked to him, he's giving me this and that. But I was terrified. I was like, what? No.
Right.
Oh yes. Don't lie to me. Don't lie to me. At that point, I was pregnant, 7 months pregnant, but I weighed maybe 110 pounds.
Wow.
I was really thin.
Yeah.
And it was all from stress. It wasn't because I was thin. It was just, it's so much it's like 24 hours a day, every day. Your adrenaline is going and going and going and going, and it's depleting. So my metabolism was just on fire. And then he lifts weights every day. He was about 220 muscle, all muscle. So he starts, there's always this twitching thing he did right before I knew he was going to turn. And he's like, come on, tell me. I know what you were doing. And I was like, I didn't see him. And that's when he started punching me in my head as hard as he could in the laundry room. It took me about 15 years to stop being afraid of being in a closed environment. Like with another person, like if another person talks to me in a small room, I like, okay, can we leave this room right now? And it doesn't matter where, because I don't want to feel cornered.
Right.
I've gotten better now, because you have to train yourself.
Yeah, it takes time.
And you're not in trouble. You're not gonna be in trouble. Nobody's gonna corner you. But he would punch me. I hit the floor, and my first instinct was to hold my stomach.
Of course.
So he wouldn't punch my stomach. So he kept punching my head, my face. But like with one arm, I was like this, and the other arm here. But it got to a point that I just wanted to hold my belly, and he was just going. I mean, I'm talking about hours of a beating. He dragged me by my hair to the kitchen. He took out a pair of scissors, saying he was going to give me an abortion because I wasn't his baby. And I was like, no, this is your baby. What are you talking about? Oh, that's not my baby. I bet you anything. It was the worst and scariest. Like, people say their lives flashed before their eyes. To me, it was more like my death flashed.
Wow.
Before, like, okay, my family's gonna find me in a ditch, because that's what he told me. I'm gonna cut you up into little pieces, and they're gonna find you in little pieces, and I don't care if you die, because you're gonna die. We're all gonna die tonight. And I believed him.
Of course.
There was that night, I don't know if it was if he even helped me not die, because anytime my head was so swollen and that I could feel blood gushing inside. Like, it wasn't gushing out, but it was like inside. My head was about the size of a watermelon. I could barely see, and all I kept wanting to do was go to sleep. I felt like I was drifting away. He goes, if you die, if you go to sleep, you're going to die. And it was me trying so hard to stay alive. And I survived. I don't know. I had a normal delivery of Destiny, came out fine. She did come 4 weeks early. But I think that's one of the closest times he almost killed me.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm speechless. That was, yeah. And you said that he came in there yelling about why you saw the baby's father. Did you even see the baby's father?
No.
So this is just something he chose to be upset about that day.
Yes. And the crazy part, so the crazy part is that eventually I started saying what he wanted to hear. Right. I said,
we're good at that.
Yeah. I saw him. Oh yeah, where'd you see him? I went to a park and saw him. Oh, was Natalie with you? Yeah. And I noticed the more I fed into what he wanted to hear, the less and less he would hit me. So he was like, I'm not even wasting my time with you, because you're a slut. You're this. You're a beep, beep, beep. Or I'm going to waste my time with such a skank or blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, so I'm going to just let him know. And did you guys have sex? Yes, we had sex here and there and there. And I don't understand how this person, like, instead of getting angrier, he didn't. He like, I'm not wasting my time with you.
Right. No, I think it's so interesting about that. It's like, he and what I was going to say was, I want people listening to recognize there doesn't have to be a reason. He literally created his reason. He might have been upset for anything, but he decided he's going to come home and take it out on you. And he peeled up something. So, and anyway, he pulled up something from the air from his behind
Yeah. So
and
just to
created it
give
to be
himself a
something
reason.
to
A
beat you.
reason.
A reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So after that,
Yeah.
you did deliver Destiny,
Yes.
and she came
I
out healthy.
delivered her.
So after that beating, did you
Yes.
stay with him?
Yes, but that's when it all began with the authorities.
Okay.
The authorities got involved because, as I mentioned before, my older sister, Carla, she came. No, I had to call my job and let them know that something happened to his family because I couldn't go to work.
Right.
My face was covered in dark bruises. My eyes was swollen shut. My head, I was bad. He even cut me, my arm, my face with a razor.
Jesus.
So I had to say that his mom wasn't feeling good. So we had to go take care of her for a while.
Okay.
So they kind of believed me, but then my family kept calling. I want to talk to you. What's going on? I want to see you. And I was like, no, I'm good. I'm good. So my sister saw that my car was outside and she came one day, but this was about a week later. So the bruises started to fade a little bit, but you could still see because it's yellowish, the yellowish part in my face. And she came knocking on the door because I wouldn't answer my phone. And she goes, I opened the door and I was like, what happened? I came to pick up Natalie. I'm like, she's sleeping right now. Carla, please leave. And she's like, I'm going to take my niece. And so I said, hold on a second. I come inside and he goes, you have 5 minutes to tell her to leave or I'm going out there to tell her to leave. So I was like, oh my God. My heart was beating so fast because the last thing I wanted was for her to get hurt.
Yeah.
Like I didn't care about me getting hurt. It's like, oh my God, he's going to lash out on her.
Yeah.
And so I went out and I told her, you need to leave. And I'm tired of all this crap. You always coming here unannounced. So I'm like giving her the worst attitude. Never. Like, how dare you come to my house? I'm tired of you guys just getting in my business. All you want is because you're jealous, because I have a man and I have this thing and I have my apartment. Like, I'm trying to paint this perfect picture. Yeah. But inside, I'm like, help me. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, she goes, fine. I'm just going to leave. But just know that I want to spend time with my niece. And I was like, okay. I went to turn and she's like, what is that on your face? And I was like, nothing. Plus, he had cut my hair with those scissors. So I couldn't cover my face. And she goes, what happened to your hair? Why is your hair so short? And what is that on your face? And then I was like, nothing. And she's like, is he hitting you?
Oh my gosh.
Hey man, the Spanish crazy.
Yeah. She went in.
She's like, is he hitting you? I will kill him.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, please leave. Oh my God, please leave. He comes out and he turned. Like he let her see the other side of him. But without touching, he says, I said, get out, go home, get in your car, or you're going to regret it. And my sister, I never seen her so defenseless. She's like, this is not over. You better not put your hands on my sister. You're going to regret it. And she left. We got inside the house. I was like, I'm so sorry. He goes, go to the damn bathroom, put on some freaking makeup. And I was like, why do I have to do it now? But I didn't ask. I just did. And then he goes, I can't believe it. And I was like, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please, I'm so sorry. And I really was just so terrified of him. I don't know, not only taking it out on me, like, oh God, here we go again. I'm going to die this time. And maybe my sister will too. Then we got a call. on the landline, and they said it was my boss from work. And I'm like, so and so. And I was like, that's not my boss. And so he grabbed my phone, and he grabbed the phone and hooked it back. And he's like, that's the police. They're outside. It's like he already knew.
Wow.
So they knocked on the door and they said, it's police, get out. Open the door. There was like maybe 6 cop cars.
Oh my goodness.
Outside in Austin. This happened here in Kissimmee. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm really gonna die today.
Oh my goodness.
She called the cops. I didn't think, I knew, the thing is not think, I knew they were in there to save me. Okay. They were there to, that's what I believed back then.
Okay.
Like, they're here to crucify me now.
Well, that's an interesting thought process. Where did you get that from? Why did you say that?
Because it's like, how dare my sister call the cops on him? He's always, he had always told me growing up, he lived in New York, and his mother always got him out of situations.
Okay.
So whatever happened, he would go to jail, he would come out, and, you'll be sorry.
Okay, got it.
So I knew that he wasn't afraid of going to jail.
Okay, got it.
Because he knew that, he goes, well, you say anything, I'm going to come out, I'm going to get bailed out, and then you'll be sorry. Okay. Little did I know that there were so many resources out there for me that could protect me. I thought I would be going, if I'd escape, I would go to my parents' house, and then I'm putting them at risk. I'm putting, so I didn't want to escape without, help. And I didn't think my family could help me because I didn't want to put them in the same situation I was in. Because I really believed that he was a very dangerous man. Okay. And he feared nothing when he became that other person. Okay. So the cops got there, it kind of also made me more terrified of him because he had no fear in the authority. Okay. Come on in, officers. Very arrogant, very like, oh, I'm untouchable. You can't touch me. I'm not afraid of you. Okay. And so they separated us. They took me outside. And the one thing I want to say about law enforcement now, because of so many years that have gone by, is gotten like, I wish that the law enforcement agency was how they are now with victims. Okay. Because this is how it was 20 years ago. And maybe a lot of people don't really appreciate it, but I do appreciate how they are now because they're very caring and they do get educated about domestic violence. Yeah. Back then, when they called me there was this male officer who was with there was like 3 other male officers, and a lady officer really wasn't the one questioning me, which I believe is now. Okay. But the male officer goes, oh, so tell me, your sister calls. So my sister and my family are like at the end of the corner of the street, and they're like, please, Raquel, please tell the truth. What's going on? And I'm just like, look, my sister's just jealous. I'm fine. She just doesn't. She wanted to take my daughter with her. I told her no, so now she's upset. And he's like, oh, okay, so tell me something. How did you get that bruise in your arm? He goes, whoa, wait, let me guess. You fell in the tub. That's wait, no. You smacked yourself with the cabinet. That's, I hear that a lot. So I was like, in my head, are these the same people that are supposed to rescue me?
Oh my God, that is so horrible. I'm sorry, but that's terrible. Yeah. Of course she's not going to admit anything to you.
No, and it made me feel like I didn't want to feel like a victim. I didn't want to feel like someone so weak and so pathetic. Like, and that I had so much anger inside of me, and I'm like, yeah, he's the one who actually loves me. He does, like, I don't know why why would I turn him in to people like them?
Right.
I didn't trust, and it made me really feel that I couldn't trust the world out there,
Okay.
that he was protecting me from that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
still that person that he created. That
Mm-hmm.
Raquel now, I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
sure. But
Yeah.
that person he created, I was like, oh no, he loves me. That world out there, I want no part of it.
Okay.
You know, I didn't know, I forgot about how love really felt and what it should
Right.
be.
Right. That's it.
Now, the one thing I can say is my family, they tried so hard, but I think they didn't know which routes to go because we never really experienced something like this in my family. So they didn't know either that there was resources that can help them
Okay.
and, you know, reach out to me in different ways. So the way they would reach out was in desperation, which
Right.
made me push
Yeah.
them further away.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There's an instance where that I still can't say without, but I'm going to say it because I'm sure there's a lot of women and men that have felt this way, but there's something I regret heavily in my heart. And it's when I was working, I worked at a clothing store, and my father, who again is like he's my idol, my father, and he's always been, he walked into the clothing store and he didn't know how to approach me. And he came and he's like, Raquel, but carefully, like he was really being careful on how he would approach me.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, Raquel, are you okay? I miss you. Please come home. Just come home. And I yelled at him because I felt I was being watched and this was a test.
Wow.
He was
Okay.
he was testing me to see how I would approach my father. Would I really reject him, or would I hug him and, you know, tell him, please dad, come save me, get me out of here? That is what I really wanted to do. And then instead I yelled at him, I want nothing to do with you. People just don't understand. And the moment he turned his head, I ran and I cried, but I try not to cry so hard because I'm like, what if he's watching me and then he sees that it affected me.
Okay.
And I told on myself. Like, it got to a point that I had to tell. My dad came to work just in case he's the one who planned it and I didn't share it with him, then I'm keeping something from him.
Right. Right. Right.
So I told him, so what did you tell him? I told him this and this and that and that. And he's like, okay, I'm proud of you. And I'm like, and it's like, it's just stayed in my throat. And after that, I would call my house, my parents. And it's crazy because sometimes I watch some of these movies where people are held captive by their kidnappers. And I feel it's so relatable of how they feel, because I would like sneak out a phone call. And I used to be able to go out, but I didn't know who I could trust. I didn't know who was working for him. I felt a little schizophrenic,
Right.
you know?
I get what you're saying.
Because the world didn't seem normal like how other people saw it. Okay. It's like this world was different. I don't know how to explain it.
It makes sense.
But I would call my parents from a payphone and just to hear their voice and hang up.
Did you talk back to them, or just?
No, they'll be like, Raquel, and I would hang up. And I'm like, and there were days that I'm like, okay, today's the day. I'm going to leave. I'm going to do it. I got in my car. I remember I had Natalie and Destiny in the backseat. Natalie was already a year and a half. Destiny was about 4 months, and I'm driving down Orange Avenue. And if I made a right, I can go towards my parents' house. But if I continue straight, I would go to his house, well, to our home.
Right.
And it's God. God talked to me so much back then, and now too. But back then, it's like, go, just turn, just turn. And it's like the one inside me going, yes, turn. What are you doing? You have both your girls with you. He's not going to come hurt you. He's not going to do it. And in the argument that I was having with myself, I ended up with him. I was already home.
Wow.
And it's like this magnet. They take so control over everything you do that no matter how much you want to do something, you don't. But the thing is that's when you have to do it.
Right.
That was my call for me to do it. But at the same time, I felt so weak and not only afraid for my family, and I didn't know there was other resources out there that I can call or that I can get help from. And it's really sad because things could be so much different if there were people like us to share their, and, you know, like now it's even better because we have social media, we have public things. So back then we didn't really have any of that stuff.
Yeah, but you know, it's so funny you say that. We do have all these things, yet still every 9 seconds a woman is beaten. 1 in 3 women are being abused regardless. And you would think, well, hey, like, what are we missing? We're telling you, like, loud and clear, this is happening. It's deadly. It's horrible. But still, I think
what it is also is because it's become so out there, and all you hear, or not really all you hear, what you mainly hear now is that they end up killing these women. And the thing is that I don't know. I think that it's always happened where, you know, there's always been, and it's like it's everywhere. It's like not only in domestic violence, there's people killing other people. There's always going to be things happening in the world. They don't talk about all the ones that do get away.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think also the biggest problem is that there's just like this, the law needs to change.
Oh my goodness. I'm gonna get me started. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous.
So I used to really believe back then, I used to say, okay, because I did think of like, how can I escape? Okay, I did this. Oh no, if this happens, I can't, because what if this happens? So what if that happens? And you start thinking of all these different things. I'm like, okay, well, if it gets so dark.
Yeah.
If I could just, if
people don't
I
understand how dark it gets. Yes.
I can kill him. That's it. I'll spend the rest of my life in prison. I don't care, as long as I'm done with this.
Yeah.
Because he will always come after me. He will always be in control. So it gets to a point that you're not premeditating a murder. You're just tired of the abuse and so afraid of it continuing even after you leave. Or maybe he needs to end up in prison or in jail, or someone needs to get him away from this world somehow, away from the public, because he's going to continue hurting people. And that's what people don't understand, is that they will continue to hurt. And how can you help? I wish I had those answers. And I hope with my story, I can help someone like you, okay, like I told you before, you are an inspiration to me. A lot of people think that, you know, my story, you know, it's like, wow, powerful. But I really do feel like you guys are courageous. Anyone who will leave and save their children and have that courage that I didn't have. I didn't have that courage in me yet. Maybe I would have, but I just want people to have that courage, that one split second that you want to leave, because it could end in one day. It ended in one day that I
Tell us
thought
what
everything
happened.
was, it was perfect. It was like no hitting for the last 2 weeks. He's changing. His father had passed, and he had promised that he would not hurt me anymore, because he made that promise to his father on his deathbed.
Okay.
He wanted me to have a better relationship with my family, and he was going to get help. He's
Okay.
going to
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
therapy.
Yes. Yes.
He doesn't remember things that happen. Sometimes maybe it's something in his brain or whatever. And I'm feeling so hopeful. And
Right.
finally, um, and then one day it just like it was an explosion. I woke up, and it was a Friday, and I was off on Friday that day. And hmm, he went to work, and he called me, and he's like, I want to have family day. So if you could just clean the house. I get home around 11, go do groceries, and no, wait a minute. We had a routine. I would do the groceries, get my nails done. He was
Mm-hmm.
the type of person that would tell me how he would like my nails, how short they were, what color that he wanted me to make them, what to wear, even the hair, like the color of my hair, my eyebrows, my makeup, everything had to be on to his liking. And I went to groceries, and then I came home, I made lunch, and he had came home around 11 right before lunchtime. I put groceries away, and we said hi, because he had just came home from work. He's like, look, I'm a little tired. Go get your nails done. And I'll stay with the little one, which was Destiny. She was 8 months old, because she was ready for a nap. And he was just going to take a nap, got my nails done, come home, and then we would go out to the movies or out to eat something special,
Okay.
which we never did.
Okay. Okay.
So I was like, cool, okay. So he goes, okay, so I want you to get your nails fluorescent orange,
Okay.
because it was spring, and he wanted, I don't know, I hate bright colors, but he wanted my fingers the same color as my toes. So I was like, okay. So he's like, I'll see you later. So I bring Natalie with me. And it's crazy, because I always had gone out anywhere, like to do errands with both girls. But this day, it was just her and me. And it was the best and worst day of my life, because it was like God had said, okay, you didn't leave, but I'm going to give you the best memory of her. And he did. We went to get I went to get my nails done, and I remember she was 2. She had had just turned 2 about a couple months before,
Okay.
because it was in May. This was May 98, 99. So she was 2 years and 2 months.
Okay.
And that's when she had already started talking. But she saw that I was getting my nails done, and she's like, oh, mommy, pretty. I go, yeah. She
Yeah.
goes, and she's like, me? And I was like, yeah. And then the lady goes, oh, me do her nail? And I was like, yeah. And then she goes, what color? She goes, like mommy.
Oh, yeah.
So she got her nails painted, and she was like sitting 2 tables up from me, and she thought she was all grown, getting her nails done, and she's so happy. And then we had a cell phone then, like the Nokias back then,
Oh,
the
yeah,
really
yeah,
old
yeah.
ones. And he did use that to track me, but because you had to pay for minutes back then. So he was like, okay, where are you? I'm still at the nail shop. Okay, hurry up, because the day's going, and I want to get stuff done or go, whatever. get ready and go. And I was like, okay. So I'm stupid at the time. I'm thinking, how dumb am I to bring, I got a pedicure done and I bring closed toe shoes and I didn't let it dry.
Right. Okay.
So rushing out, I grabbed my shoes, I put them in, and then in the car, I was like, God, I hope I didn't mess them up. So I take off my shoe and I saw that they're all messed up.
Oh.
I was too embarrassed to go in and tell them that I messed up the nails. So I just went into some store, grabbed the nail polish,
Okay.
and polished over
Right.
the messed up toes.
Right.
And like, why did I care? Like now I would be like, you know, I screwed up my damn toes.
Yeah, and I paid you. Could you redo this for me? And I paid you. Could you redo this for me real quick?
Yeah. No, and not only that, like, what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm getting my
Yeah.
toes painted. You just
Yeah.
messed them up. Now
Yeah.
you're gonna have to wait longer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how it is. And then, but then I was like, I was so afraid of telling him. So I thought that he wouldn't notice. I got home and I woke him up and he's like, oh, let me see your nails. So he sees the nails and he's like, oh, he goes, let me see your toes. Because he had to approve. He's not like, it wasn't a typical guy. He like wanted to make sure that I looked the part for him. Okay. So he looked at my toes and it was kind of dark in the apartment, and he turned on the light, he grabbed me by the hand, took me to the kitchen, turned on the light, and I'm like, and then he looks at my toes, he looks at my nails, and he's like, you stupid? And I'm like, what? He goes, are you, don't F with me.
Yeah.
You think I'm dumb? What the hell color is that on your feet? And I was like, I'm sorry. He goes, oh, you're so stupid. And it's crazy because it been like a weeks that he hadn't turned that way. So right. I was like, I'll do whatever you want. Just please, I'm sorry. And he's like, you have 5 minutes to go to the store and get the right fluorescent orange, because it was adult orange I put on my toes over the fluorescent. So I had to all of this because of nails. So I went to the store, I got the right nail polish, got in the car, slammed the door, broke a nail.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so then I'm hysterical, calling him. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I broke a nail. What do I do now? Please don't be mad. Please, I want this day to be perfect. I'm so sorry. Oh, don't worry about it. Just go back to the nail shop and tell them to fix it. It's okay. Don't worry, babe. I'm fine. Don't stop crying. Okay, so I go to the nail shop. I'm getting my nail fixed, which means redone, and do my toes. And then he's like, where are you? It's too quiet. I don't believe that you're there. I'm like, I am. I'm sick and tired. Forget this day is over, blah, blah, blah. So finally I get home and he's giving me a lecture about how stupid and how I don't know the difference between fluorescent and non-fluorescent colors. We were arguing. He was yelling at me by the kitchen and dining room area, and Natalie always played behind the couch. There was like a little section where it was like her little play area, and she was sitting there playing with all her toys, and I stood by the kitchen. He's in front of me, and Natalie was right in front of me towards the left, and he's yelling at me, and I was like, I know he's going to hit me. Okay. But I'm like making sure I'm getting closer into the kitchen so she doesn't see what's happening. And he went, oh, are you stupid? Stop. Look at me when I'm talking to you. And he punched me in my face. So usually I'm ready for it.
Okay.
So I wouldn't lose balance, or if he punched me in my stomach, I knew how to tighten up my gut so it wouldn't
Okay.
lose my breath. And
Okay.
he punched me so hard in the face, I fell down. And as I got up, I like looked to see, make sure she didn't see me,
Okay.
but she did. And she was like, "Mommy," like she was
Mm.
like scared that I got hurt. And I was
Right.
like, like, shh.
Yeah.
And I got up real quick and I was like, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. And yeah, I'm stupid, like bringing his
Yeah.
attention
That's.
to me. And then he grabbed her by the arm and he took her to the room. And here I'm thinking, he's doing what I asked him to always do, to I don't want them seeing it.
Okay.
Destiny was sleeping still in the playpen. So I stood there waiting for him to come back.
Okay.
Because
So
he
you
put
thought
her
he
in
was
the
just
room.
like, yeah, he thought he was just putting her in the room away from the
He was
fight.
putting
Okay.
in the room because she started crying because I got hit.
Okay, got it.
So he
Yes.
grabbed her, took her to the room, and then I waited for him to come back, and he didn't come back right away.
Mm-hmm.
And then I say this without, I don't want to, like, it's so long ago, I don't want to really, I don't want to break down.
Take your time. Take your
But
time. Take your time.
I heard thumps,
Mm.
like someone hitting a pillow, a
Okay.
rough pillow.
Okay.
But it didn't feel like someone hitting a wall. It felt like thumps. And I'm like, I don't hear her, so I ran into the room. And when you go in, the bed is like this, and then there's a bathroom at the end of the hall of the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
But he's over the bed, and mind you, he was about 220 pounds of muscle.
Mm.
My daughter, 2 years old, and then he was over. I didn't know if she was under him because I couldn't see. He had his whole body, and all I kept seeing was his arm.
Okay.
So I heard her let out like a moan.
Mm.
And I jumped behind him, like on his back.
Okay.
And I'm like, please, please, please stop. Please, what are you doing? And he went like this and flung me.
Mm.
I flew back and landed in the bathroom and knocked my head with the corner of the sink.
Mm.
But I didn't even feel anything. I got up, and then when I got up really fast, I saw him hold his head like, what did I just do? What's going on? What did I do? Oh my God. Oh my God, what happened? Oh my God. And while he was acting all crazy, I grabbed Natalie from the bed and ran back to the bathroom, closed the door behind me, and put her over the sink, like sitting, and she's looking at me, and I was like, where does it hurt? And all she kept saying was like, mommy, but very faintly. And I'm like, did he hurt your head? Like, does your head hurt? And she's like, I was like, what hurts? What hurts? And in my head, I'm like, how am I going to get out of here?
Yeah. Yeah.
I knew it wasn't good. I knew it was, as a mom, and I'm at the same time, I'm thinking, okay, I'm stuck in a bathroom that has no windows.
Right. Okay.
My other child is in the living room.
Right.
I have this man I have this man in the middle of, he's blocking my exit. I am like 90 pounds of
Mm.
bones. There's no way that we will make it out alive.
Mm.
I have to think. And he comes in the bathroom, and I was like, we need to take her to the hospital. Please let me take her to the hospital. And he's like, nope, it's too late.
Yeah.
We can't do anything about it. And nobody's going to make it out of here today.
Mm.
And I'm like, fine, me. I don't care about dying. Yeah, but just please take my daughter to the hospital. And he didn't. I tried. It's like telling a psychopath to have feelings and let you, and people think like, okay, so why would you stay having your daughter like that? Why didn't you just leave and take your daughter to the hospital? And instead you waited 3 hours to take her.
Mm.
I didn't wait 3 hours.
Right.
It took me 3 hours to convince him.
That's it.
If I had even dared to get close to that door, we would have all been dead. And to be honest, I really thought I could save her by thinking thinking of ways to have him change his mind. If I had just given myself, and if Natalie would have could survive, and I would have reached for that door, we would have all, she would have ended up dying anyway. So I had to be smart about it. And it got to a point I got so desperate because I could see her fading. I didn't even know what hurt her. Like, I didn't know if she got some head injury. It wasn't visible. She kept holding her belly. So he sat on a reclining chair in our room. 2.5 hours later, maybe 3 hours. I don't know about time. People ask me how long. It felt like an eternity.
Mm.
And during that whole time, I'm not just sitting there, like, I'm really begging him.
Yeah.
Call your mom. Let me call my dad. Let me do something, please. I can't just sit around. And then I got on my knees, and I said, I would just let me take her to the hospital. I would tell them I did it. Mm-hmm. Like I would spend the rest of my life in prison, and I would tell them that lie as long as I know that she's okay. I told him I can't see her die. She's dying. And he said, okay. Man, the minute he said, okay, I jumped up. I grabbed her. I was approaching the door, and he stopped me. He's like, hold on, I'm coming with you. And I'm like, okay, it's fine. Let's go. And during that time, he was taking time to put things in his mind of, and I didn't care whether he came with me or not. Mm-hmm. I didn't care whether, as long as she was okay, I didn't care. Yeah. Went to the hospital, and before he let me drive away, he says, okay, so this is what happened. You were in the bathroom we getting ready or something, and then she comes around to where my weights are, because he used to work out, had a weight, what do you call it, like dumbbells and stuff like that. And I heard something, or you heard something, you came out, and she had like a dumbbell, like one of those scale, what do you call those?
Yeah, the dumbbell ones. I know it's the round ones.
Yeah, the round ones, and one fell on her. And I was like, okay. Working out, she came out, one of those fell on her. Okay, got it. Well, okay, tell me again how it was. Okay, what time did this happen? During that whole time, I'm like, oh my God. She's in the back seat. I was driving, and I went to the hospital. They took her in and left me out waiting with him. And he's like, what happened? What happened? And then little did I know that he was really manipulating my brain in this moment. And I started really believing it.
Okay.
Like, okay, I saw her going towards the weights, pulling the weights off the thing, and it falling on her. He said it so much that I really saw it. Okay, yeah, that's what happened. There's no way that he could do what I thought he did.
Right.
And even though I had the knot from me hitting my head on the sink, that didn't just happen. You know, like it's so crazy how you believe things that are really true. So they had to they came out a few hours later saying they had to fly her to trauma center in Princeton because they weren't a trauma center, and they had to bring her back 3 times before they can airlift her. So during that time I had to drive about 40 minutes away to where they were taking her because I couldn't go with them. And that time we were driving in the car, he was with me. We had left Destiny with one of his ex-girlfriends. She came to pick her up at the hospital so we can go to the other hospital. And the whole time he's next to me, they wouldn't separate us to question us. The doctors were just like, okay, so what happened? And I would let him speak because he wouldn't let me speak. And then when they would look at me, I was like distraught. I couldn't even, I was so distraught that even if they were to talk to me, I wouldn't speak back. Because deep in my heart, I knew that it was going to, I knew it. I knew that she wasn't going to make it. We went to the hospital, and on the way, he's hysterical crying. I'm so sorry. I don't know. I love her. I love her so much. And there was this bridge that we were driving on, and he made me so angry that I don't know what made me not veer that car off that bridge. And I know what it was because I needed to see my baby. And we went to the hospital. We this was Friday night. They have to have emergency surgery. He still didn't allow me to call my family. He called his mother. His mother was there. It was 3:00 in the morning, and they were performing surgery. They had to remove her spleen and half her intestines. He ruptured her intestines, her spleen. And after she made it through the surgery, they said that they didn't really think that she would make it and would wake up because of all the he ruptured her intestines, and there was toxins, feces in her bloodstream. That if we would have brought her sooner, she would make it. Um, um, so they put her on a ventilator, life support, and they were just waiting for her to react and make sure that she could wake up from it. By this time, it was Saturday, and he allowed me to call my family. My entire family came. Still no detectives. No, I believe the children and family came Saturday morning to interrogate me, and I remember this lady came, and she was like, she knew. Now that I look back, I know that she knew what situation I was in, and she
Mm-hmm.
kept telling me about abused women and how she could help me.
Mm.
That all I needed to do was tell her what really happened, and I knew he was outside those doors, so how can you help me?
Yeah.
Mm, there's no way you can help me. I'm not going to say my daughter's out there and he's free from, what do I know that he's going to, what he's going to do next if I say anything.
Mm.
And even then I was thinking that the weights did it and that these people are against me, and
Wow.
it's just like so bizarre. um but then um the investigators came right after they told us only a miracle could save her. So I was very distraught. I remember because um my entire family was there and was telling me, okay, they're going to talk to you. I was like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to be
Oh,
next to her. And they brought me in for interrogation. They read my Miranda rights. um
oh,
when they interrogated me for 6 hours,
oh my goodness.
and I kept saying, no, and I'm not a domestic violence victim or all this. And one detective was like, okay, we see your criminal record. You've never been
Mm-hmm.
arrested.
Mm-hmm.
You were this in high school, and
Mm-hmm.
your ambitions for this, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody tells me what a wonderful person you are and how happy and loving and caring person that you are. So we have you here, and now we have this person who has criminal records, domestic violence records, rape, um,
Mm-hmm.
all these charges in New York, not close to his family. No, haven't heard anybody talk great things about this man. And now we have a child,
Mm-hmm.
your daughter, who's dying, and you're telling me that weights did it. No, they didn't. And you're going to tell me the
Mm-hmm.
truth. And it's like, I want it so badly. Like, I wanted to like scream to this. And I met him years later, and I gave him the biggest hug, because if it wasn't for him, like, he made me realize what a great person I really was. And no one else made me feel that way, being in the authority. Like, he reminded me I was a good person. You got with a bad person,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not your fault. But I didn't understand that then. I thought he was
Right.
attacking me. And I said, I want to talk to my dad. And I think that's the only way I thought I could trust them,
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't know if they were working for him.
Right.
So I'm like, I want to see my dad. And they let me see my dad. And my dad, when I saw my dad, I hadn't seen my family in about since 6 months.
Wow.
And
Crazy.
so yeah, I confessed right away.
Mm.
I felt safe.
Yeah.
My dad made me feel safe. I confessed, and they interrogated him. He pled it, like, well, he asked for a lawyer, and then they took him away. But Natalie lived until the next day, Sunday, May 23rd, 1999. We had to remove her from life support. Her heart was beating strong until the end. But she was just succumbing to her injuries, and I couldn't see her the way they had her in machines. And they said that there was really nothing, she would not wake up from it. It was, see, when people, like us mothers, we think about, God forbid, you know, how would I, like, I couldn't even imagine. I can't even imagine. And it's 100 million times worse than what you really feel. It's been 21 years. And what would I do to give for a touch, her smell? And I want to give that. I want to share my story because I don't want that being taken away from any mother because of any asshole. I'm sorry. So yeah, it took me, I lost custody of Destiny. I lost custody because they felt that I would not be a fit parent after.
I just have so many thoughts about that, but I'm just going to not say it.
I was not.
Get it.
I was not fit. I would end up in another relationship where the person would abuse me, and what they wanted was to cover their own behinds because their investigation, they had an investigation for child abuse and domestic violence that didn't get followed up because they were overstaffed. And my daughter and my file was on the desk of a supervisor, and it became like all this. And I'm not blaming anyone because you know, it's their jobs, yes, but hey, you know, things happen. But
did you get custody back of her?
I did not.
They terminated.
I had a court-appointed attorney after Natalie died. I wasn't allowed to see Destiny. Destiny was taken into custody and put in foster care. She didn't come to the funeral, did not allow me to visit her, know where she was. Then I had a dependency case, which was me having to fight for Destiny's custody. I was still mourning. This was weeks, if not weeks after my daughter's death, and they said no, that I only had maybe 1 hour visitation, supervised visits with Destiny. After a month after Natalie died is when I first saw her, in really terrible conditions. My family begged for them to, take her temporary until the dependency case was over, and they denied it because I lived with my mom. So I had to leave my parents' home, and the only way they can let her stay with them is as long as I wasn't around, and that they would do surprise visits to make sure that I wasn't there, because if I would be there, then she would go back into foster care. Then my court-appointed lawyer told me after about a year, just before, don't take this to trial because you're going to lose. And if you lose, which you will, any child you have in the future will be taken into custody and put up for adoption. I'm like, what? I'm, I'm, at this time I was getting help by Harbor House, and I was like, I'm not a victim, but it wasn't my fault. Like
Right.
these people are telling me it wasn't my fault, that
Right.
I had a condition. And now
Right.
you're telling me
But you're punishing me for it.
that now you're punishing me even more. I already lost so much. Why do you want to take more away from me? But then they said, well, if you sign your rights away, and your parents will be the first option for them to adopt, rather than having to be on the list. And I contemplated. I was like, I want to go to trial. I don't think it's fair. And
Right.
she's like, honey, it's not fair, but I'm telling you, you're going to take the chance of having children in the future, and you won't even get to, it don't matter. She told me, it doesn't even matter if you're married. That child would be taken away from you at the hospital. And my parents were like, no, don't worry, it's just a piece of paper. She's gonna be your daughter. And then once I signed those papers, you can go back to your parents' house. You can still be around Destiny 24 hours a day. She can live with you. It doesn't matter, but like a sister. So I signed those papers. It was hard, and I knew the future was going to be even harder, because it was hard for me to sign her up for school.
Right.
I had to bring my mother with me, and they'll be like, who's mom? And I'm like, me, but my mom is on the birth certificate. And they're like, what? And I didn't want, she was too little to understand all of those things. So she's like, who is my mom? Like, it's something that it's not easy. It wasn't easy. And it could have been all of these things that have dominoed into my life. It has not been easy, and not just for myself, but for my family, for Destiny, for anyone who even encounters me now. And maybe I know for sure if I would have left, it would have turned out so differently. It would have been a beautiful story. It's not a beautiful story for me because of that, but it's a beautiful story in the sense that God chose me to be her mom. She was able to eliminate a monster from hurting anyone. And that's what keeps me going. And what keeps me going is being able to reach out to one person. It could be multiple people, but if I could just touch one person, it would be, I know she would be so proud of me. I want to do so much. And it's hard because there's going to be people that are going to judge you. There's going to be people people have judged me. People have called me a child murderer. I deserve the worst thing that could happen to me. It was said to me many times. Even now when I do interviews, they say, oh, she's so full of it. Like they lived my life.
What?
Yeah, she deserves the worst. How could she not protect her child? And I used to bother me, but those are the people I want to hear our story.
To educate.
Educate them.
Yeah.
They're very uneducated. They don't know what it is. And you know what? And my story is not only for them, but it's mainly for women like me.
Yeah.
I don't want them to be me. I don't want them to know what it's like to have to lose custody of your children, to have to depend on family to raise your children because people think that you're not capable of doing it on your own. A man screaming at you, calling you all these horrible things. You know.
Did he go to jail?
Oh, yeah. Prison without parole.
Life.
First degree. Life. Yeah. Life without parole. Um,
And that's also Destiny's father.
that's
So you
Destiny's
also
father.
have that layer of it as well.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Which has brought us closer. She's a very strong-willed person, like her mom. She's very proud. I know she's proud of what I do. I don't speak so ill of him, because like I talk about the bad things he did. And he is a human being. Have I forgiven him? I've forgiven him in the sense where he no longer has control over my feelings, my thoughts. I pray for him. I pray for my daughter, because I know deep inside, I've never experienced having to walk in her shoes,
Right.
because I
Right.
have an amazing father.
Right.
So it hurts me. It hurts me so deeply that she doesn't have a father like I had a father,
Right.
but it's still her biological father.
Still
It's
father.
still the blood that runs through her veins. So I respect that. I've always told her, I've been honest with her, even though my family wouldn't want, and I told her, your feelings are your feelings. What he did to me, he did to me. He did not do to you. Right. If you ever want to have a relationship with him, that is okay by me. Right. And you should never feel guilty. So, but now, I'm a grandma. She gave me a grandbaby.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yes.
Like you're a new grandma, like a new grandma. You just had a grandbaby.
Yes, 2 weeks old yesterday. Well, actually 2 days ago. I got remarried. Well, I got married for the first time to my high school friends, and we had 2 children together.
Okay.
I think the biggest challenge for me per se, after my experiences and my loss, it's very hard for me to trust. Okay. I've learned through the years. See, with my first marriage, he took the biggest part of me, because you go through that, flashbacks, PTSD, that anger.
The brunt of your trauma. He took the brunt of your trauma in the first
month. I did. I lashed out. And then at the same time, I got with him because I knew him from before. I could trust him. He was a wonderful father to my kids, but we weren't compatible. And I wanted more from life than just, I knew I deserved more. I'd rather be alone and happy and be myself. And it's crazy, because now that I'm 42, I'm now learning. You learn so much from yourself the older you get. And I have become, I've gone through 2 marriages. Okay. I am still friends with both my ex-husbands. They're amazing men. They've never hurt me in the sense where I felt fear. Typical men stuff that I don't put up with. Yeah. I'm like, no, nope, not happening today, tomorrow, ever.
Sorry. Yeah. You got the real Raquel now. This is the real Raquel.
Yeah,
it's not
this is the real Raquel. It's really hard. Like, do you really want to go there?
Right. And I tell people this all the time. I'm like, I'm not the Lisa that I was before. Like, post domestic violence, oh, it's a no. Zero tolerance.
No, like, don't even like, no.
Exactly.
No. And it's because now I'm happy by myself. It doesn't mean that I will never find love again. There's love out there. I don't take a day for granted. I don't like routine. Okay. I like to live my life where I can enjoy life, the people around me, even the people that I don't want to be around. I make it a way to like being around them. But I'm not saying like the evil people, like, there's just so many different personalities. I'm very outspoken. I'm not fearless. I'm cautious.
Okay. I like that.
And
I'm not fearless, I'm cautious. Well, I have a
okay.
couple questions for you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's really some key things that you said that I kind of want to wrap up with that I want the
Mm-hmm.
people who are listening to hear. I think one of the most powerful parts of your story is how your mind was brainwashed and manipulated and literally transformed into exactly who you wanted, to the point of the day that the biggest incident happened, it was because of the color of your nail polish. And I
Mm-hmm.
want people to hear this because it's like, are you the color of my, and you're apologizing and it still isn't enough. And it was even a point in your story where you said, I said what he wanted me to say. Like, what did you want me to say? Yeah, I'll say that too. Because you learn to work around whatever it is you need to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And I think so. I guess my question would be, what would you say to someone who's listening to this, or who deals with someone who's, I don't understand, how are they believing everything they're saying? How are you so brainwashed to allow them to control everything that you say and do?
It doesn't happen from one day to the next. It happens without you even knowing it happened.
That's good. Yeah.
It really does. And you try to fight it
Mm.
at first, but then you kind of embrace it. I don't know,
Mm.
because you feel like they are God.
Yeah.
Uh,
Wow.
it's so. I wouldn't never want anyone, not even my worst enemy, which I don't have enemies, I hope, um, to ever feel.
Okay.
It's hard to describe, but I'm not sure if some people see movies where captors, there's a syndrome called,
Yeah.
like the
Stockholm syndrome. Yep.
Stockholm syndrome. You start feeling for and
Yeah.
you really do believe the things that they say to you. And if you're looking from the outside, you're like,
That's crazy.
that makes
Yeah.
no sense. But
Yeah.
do you know that there was experiments even in
Mhm.
like for wars,
Mhm.
and it got to a point that I felt no pain,
Mm.
physical pain. Like people think like, oh, if you get beat. I didn't feel the pain when he would hurt me
Wow.
physically. It got so bad that it just numbed me. But his words, his thoughts of me, his whatever he would put me down, call me names, those things stayed with me
Yeah.
and hurt me.
Yeah.
And I believed it.
Yeah. And
Because
that's the
he
thing.
tore
You
he
believe
tore
in.
down every part of me that I liked of myself.
And that's what I want people to hear. They're chipping away at you, at who you were, and literally forming who they
Yeah.
want you to be, literally.
Yeah.
So another question I had was, and I know that you talk about you come from a strong family, very close family. And what would you say to family members of someone who's experiencing this? Like, your sister's like, what is going on? Your dad's like, please talk to me. How can you explain that to a family member who's like your dad? Well, why didn't you just tell me? Or your sister, why didn't you just tell me?
Um, I think getting yourself educated, and I know the first thing you want to do is be desperate. Like,
Yeah.
this is how it's going to happen because then they're not going to ever leave. And no, you have to really gain that person's trust again. Um, and let them be the one to choose the time to leave,
Okay,
but
that's
let them know that they just to be there for them, maybe give them ideas. Okay, so if you ever feel there's going to be one time that you're going to feel like you want to leave, I'm not saying that he's hurting you or abusing you, but if you ever feel that, I just make it, I don't know, maybe if I had someone to come to me like, hey Raquel, not make me feel like a victim or not
right.
scream and yell, because those are things that he's already doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's happening to you, but there's a story about this girl, and like just make it seem like it's happening to someone else, and
Yeah.
this happened and that happened.
Yeah.
And well, if you ever see or hear from someone who's going through this, here's a number. They are really
There
great.
you
Da,
go.
da, 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 da,
That's
and they
it.
will come help you, and whatever, and then just change
Yeah.
the subject, but don't
Yeah.
talk
That's
about it
good.
for a whole hour, because that person is just going to push you away. Like, I don't want
Yeah.
to hear it. I don't want to know. I don't want to hear the truth.
Okay.
um and it's so hard because if now how I am, I've confronted abusers
Mm.
in public, and I have to I have to like hold myself back, but I did. I got into a face.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
maybe it was the wrong way of doing it, but it's like, yeah, sometimes your emotions get in the way, but really just I even saw like this one lady who just gave a phone number or like a note to someone that you go somewhere, I need help,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
or help me.
Yeah.
Someone will be able to help you.
Yeah. I love how you said that awareness. They just don't know. Educate them. Like, hey, find a phone number for them. Slip it to them. Say, hey, call this number or leave your life. To give them clues to how they can get the help, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I would also say too, like your family didn't give up on you. They you know, your sister came by, whether she was wanted or not. You know, your father still said, hey, I love you. Showed up at your job. And you said something else really powerful. I'm going back a little bit, but you said my dad came to my job, and I wondered if he had sent my dad, like if this was a trick. And people, I
Mm.
don't think people really understand the mind tricks that they play. You know, that just
Yeah.
really, really just mess you up. But and I don't even want to go there to talk about DCF. I'm not going to go there because it does something to me. It enrages me, and he was going to jail. It wasn't like he was going to still be out and you were going to go back to live with him. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna be quiet because
Yeah.
I don't get it. She's already traumatized. She just lost her child. You be traumatized about taking the only other child that she has.
Yeah. And when I saw her, um, she, she was perfectly healthy when they took her, and she was clean, and I packed all her clothes, her nice clothes. And a month after, when I first saw her, she had lost so much weight. She has rashes all over. Bottles were disgusting. And I'm like, okay, why won't you give her to my parents? They're going
Yeah.
to take care of her.
You took her away from me for this. She was well
For
taken
her to
care of
be,
before.
yeah,
Right.
because she's being neglected.
Right.
So you're going to take her away from family who are going to care for her, and then you're going to neglect. But she's good now. You see, I do talk a lot about, and my biggest mission, my goal is to not only talk to survivors, I really want to get to the youth.
Yeah, big time.
I do talk to a lot of my cousins' daughters, my cousins or sisters, you know, the teenagers, believe it or not. And this is why I told you today I wanted to do it, because I actually realized something over the weekend that I've known. I have a way of getting to teenagers,
Okay.
and talking and telling my story. A
Okay.
lot of people are very scared to tell the way it is as a grown up, because you want your kids or your teenagers to think that we're tough
Yeah.
and nothing can get to us. Well, I tell them, and they listen, and they hear, and you know, maybe if we can get them before it gets to that point.
Yeah. 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 Because I mean, 1 in 3 in high school, in teenagers,
Yeah.
almost half of college girls have experienced domestic violence.
Yeah.
Are you
High
kidding
school.
me? That's huge. And you also said, I asked you when you were 20, did you know the signs to look for? Did you know the red flags? Did you know what was happening? So if we give them these keys and these cues now, then maybe we can help prevent it. You know,
Prevent
but
it. Yeah.
Raquel, thank you so much for
I
coming
know. Thank
on.
you.
Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you
Oh,
for,
thank you.
I know it wasn't easy. I know it wasn't easy. And the thing too, because I mean, we could probably talk for 5 hours or days.
Oh my
There's
God.
just so
It's
many.
11
Yeah,
o'clock.
I know. There's just, I know, right? It's such a complex story, though.
It is.
You have so many
Yeah.
different facets that if people really pull it apart, and we've got to educate even DCF, even the police.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so there's just so many different facets to it. And I'm just so thankful. Oh, where'd you go?
What
Come
happened?
back. I don't know. Your camera's
You.
gone. Come back.
Where are you?
I don't know. I'm here. I can't see you. But it's okay. Oh, there you are.
There you
Yeah.
are.
I just want to thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing your heart and
Thank
sharing
you.
the gift of your beautiful 2-year-old daughter with us and sharing your story.
Thank,
And I know
thank
that her beautiful spirit lives on in you. And I know that, like you said, sharing your story about her life is going to save so many other lives.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
thank you
thank
for
you
that.
so much,
Congratulations on being a
Lisa.
grandma.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and thank you for trusting me with this space to share your story. It really means a lot. It's the first time ever that I've actually like teared up or cried on a show. I'm like, this is what am I doing? And I've heard your story before, but not like this. And it's just I have a 2-year-old, and it just there's no words.
Yeah.
It's you don't there's no words.
Mm-mm.
And so thank you. And you
No
are
problem.
brave and strong, and I know that her legacy is going to live on through this.
Yeah.
So thank you,
Thank
Raquel. Hey,
you.
you guys, thank you so much for joining Lisa Nicole Alexander on a deeper look into domestic violence. You guys, this is Raquel Gomez, survivor, mother, grandma, and thanks for being here. I'll see you guys later, okay?